metalheads, it is Blackmetalwerewolf making a brand new video for you this week. And today I want to talk about one of the most commonly asked questions I get when people reach out to me. And that is whether or not my friends listen to metal, or whether or not that is a deciding factor when I choose to be friends with somebody. So usually when anyone reaches out to me, them asking whether or not my friends listen to metal tends to come up pretty quickly in the conversation. It always, are your friends listening to metal? Are there a lot of metalheads in your area? A lot of questions like that. And simply the answer to that is no, not really. And the reason why is really just a numbers game. The town I live in isn't that big. It doesn't really have much of a metal scene. And also at my job, I work overnight, so I'm asleep all day. So the chances of me interacting with a almost non-existent metal scene, you know, it's pretty slim. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are plenty of people in this town who do listen to metal. I'm not saying it certainly doesn't exist. I know I can't be the only one around here who does. Sometimes it may feel like it, but statistically that's pretty impossible. But me interacting with them and becoming friends with them, you know, the odds just aren't really in my favor. But I always just thought about that, just the amount of people who want to know if I have metal friends. I always just thought it was quite interesting. But personally, to me, when I pick out a friendship, them listening to metal, whether they do it or they don't, was never much of a factor to me. Usually in any friend group I had, I was one of the only metalheads, if not the only metalhead in the group. Because usually when I pick friends, I base it on a lot more than just musical taste. Are my friends funny? Are they nice to be around? Do we get along? To me, just musical taste, it's not really the deciding factor. For example, if I met someone who had the exact same music taste as me, great, that's a great common ground that we can build a friendship on. But what if this person is a complete and total fucking scumbag? You know, they may have the same musical taste as me, but them being a scumbag, you know, that kind of throws me off a little bit. If they're rude, if they're obnoxious, it's things like that that really don't make me want to be friends with someone. And not to mention, I like to have... I'm not such a cardboard cutout. I'm not a one-dimensional character. I like more things than just metal. I'm sure there are so many things that I like that I'm sure I can find common ground with someone other than just musical taste. For example, about a year ago, I'd say, I was heading to work and I just met a random guy on the street who just happened to be a fan of the channel, and he recognized me in the street and he's like, oh, hey dude, I'm a big fan of your channel. And so obviously we had common ground and we like the same taste in music, because why would he be watching the channel if he didn't like metal, right? But then as I got to know the guy, it turns out we have a lot of other things in common. We have the same political views, views on society, we both have an interest in the paranormal, and me and this dude ended up having a really cool friendship. Every now and then we talk about metal, but it usually wasn't the main focus of our friendship. And you know what, I still like the guy, he's still a great dude and I enjoy talking to him. Unfortunately, I haven't seen him in a bit, but I know if I were to run into him again, we'd be able to hit it off no problem. On the other hand, I met someone else who, you know, he liked Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, Ozzy, you know, a lot of the mainstream metal bands, and, you know, great, really cool dude. But the more I got to know him, the more I realized he was incredibly obnoxious, he was incredibly fucking rude. We went to a restaurant a couple times. The way he treated the fucking waiters totally threw me off. I've never seen someone act so rude and obnoxious to someone just bringing you a coffee. It got to the point where I was like, yeah, fuck this guy. Sure, we may enjoy some of the same music, but I'm not going to hang around someone who's such a complete and total scumbag. Now, with what I'm about to say, I'm not trying to be rude or mean or target anybody out, but I think anyone who essentially bases friendships, boyfriends, girlfriends, let's just call it relationships, on musical taste, that is a very immature attitude to have towards relationships. Because I remember when I was first getting into metal, when I was a preteen, I guess that's what they fucking call them now, I was like that. I was like, oh, you know, my friends or future girlfriends have to like this band, and they have to like metal and all this shit. And then through that, I ended up trying to push my musical taste on friends, girls I liked, that kind of shit. And all that really did was end up pushing more people away than drawing them in. It was a real flies with honey and vinegar situation, right? You catch a lot more with honey than you do with vinegar. It just didn't help my relationships at all by focusing on something as insignificant as musical taste. But of course, that's kind of what kids do. They focus on stupid, piddly, superficial things. And as you get older, you gain some wisdom and you gain some insight. And you don't care about stupid little things like someone's musical taste. If I met someone who is just, big into rap, I could possibly have a friendship with them if they were a decent person and they were nice and funny and all those things. I also remember when I was a teenager, there were some girls I was talking to, like, oh, you gotta hang out with these dudes, they're really into the same music you're into. I'm like, oh, sweet, that's really cool. I ended up meeting these guys, total fucking losers. They were just a bunch of bum stoners with no aspirations, no goals. All they wanted to do was just hang out, be dirty, be rude and obnoxious to people. It's like, this isn't a friendship. Just because we have the same fucking musical taste doesn't mean we're gonna fucking get along, right? Like, and I totally see that now, because at the time I was like, oh, I really tried to be friends with these people, but they were such fucking loser scumbags. It was just like, musical taste isn't what this is about. Now, obviously, something like similar musical taste can be the great groundwork for a friendship, but it's not something to base an entire friendship on. Not to mention, can you imagine what a boring friendship that would be, or relationship or whatever, if you guys had one major thing in common? Like, how many times can you have the exact same conversation about the exact same subject before it becomes repetitive and boring? When I have friends, I want someone who I can talk to about a whole bunch of different things. I want to get their views on religion and politics, and I want to talk to them about fucking Bigfoot. Sorry for bringing Bigfoot up again in another video, but I like talking about that shit, I like talking about a whole bunch of different things. If I was friends with someone, by the 5th conversation, it was always about metal, I'd be like, okay, let's fucking change this up, man. Let's get some new topics going. This is boring to me. Like, I like talking about it. I do. Obviously, I have an entire channel based around talking about metal. But I can't imagine being friends or being in a relationship with someone, and that's the only fucking thing that the friendship and relationship is based on. I can't imagine that. And so I guess the final point I have to make on this subject is, I think one of the best things to base a relationship or a friendship on is just mutual respect. Now, obviously, to me, someone listening to metal doesn't really factor in that much, but someone's respect for me does. For example, if I had a friend who didn't listen to metal and they just shit on me all the time for enjoying it, that's not a good friendship. And it wouldn't be good either way. If I was just constantly shitting on someone for not liking metal, I wouldn't blame someone for not wanting to be my friend if I was constantly on their back about their musical taste, or really kind of anything. If you had a friend who had a different religion than you, and you just constantly attack them, you're a shitty friend. Or political views. If you're constantly attacking your buddies because they are a Republican or a Democrat or this, that, or the other thing, and you're constantly attacking them, then you're not a good friend. Just relationships, friendships, whatever you want to call it, a lot of mutual respect comes with that, and you have to receive it as much as you give it. So, sorry for turning this into a Dear Abby column, but I think that's something a lot of people should probably hear. So I think I've said my fair share on this topic, so now I want to get your guys' opinion on all of this. Do you think that someone listening to metal is a big deal when you base a relationship or a friendship? Do you think it's not important at all? Do you think it's a good thing to have as a common ground that you can build on? Or can you base friendships and relationships on other things? Please leave me your thoughts, your comments, your opinions, your stories, anything you guys have to say about this subject. I'd love to know what you guys have to think. And now, like my past videos, I either do an album recommendation or an album warning, and today is another recommendation. The band is Blind Guardian. The album is At the Edge of Time. Now, Blind Guardian is one of my all-time favorite bands, and for good reason. They just make amazing music, and so many metalheads know about them. But for some reason, I've come across so many people asking for band recommendations who have never heard of Blind Guardian before, and that just surprises me because they're so popular, they've been around for so long. I thought maybe it's because they're from Germany, but a lot of metal bands bands are from Europe, so I don't get why so many people haven't heard of them before, so this recommendation is obviously for those who've never listened to them. But either way, I was just listening to this album the other day, and I just said to myself, God damn it, this album is good. My personal favorite tracks on the album are Sacred Worlds and Ride Into Obsession, but the entire album is just amazing. So check it out, Blind Guardian at the Edge of Time. I think you'll really like it. So that's it for today's video. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave me a comment letting me know what you thought of today's video, checking out some of my past videos, and sharing them with a few of your friends while you're at it. If you would like to keep up with me on a more daily basis, you can follow me on Facebook and on Instagram. I also have a P.O. box open. All of that info is down in the description. More patches are on the way. I'm just waiting for them to be delivered so I can start selling those puppies again. And finally, thank you very much for watching, guys. And don't forget to stay brutal.